Hello, everyone. I'm Doc Hogg, and welcome to Comics and Variety C&V Midday. A couple things before we get to today's topic. First of all, my comic book, the Tilt 2, will be launching on. We'll be launching on. We'll be launching on October 19, and you can still go to the sign up page and sign up and get a free Tilt magnet. This is what it looks like here, and get a free Tilt magnet with your purchase. Also, I just want to mention that last time I was sharing some of the photos from my now old former intro to this to Comics and Variety, to the videos I post, and I promised that I'd have a new video out on Thursday. Had a little bit of a setback yesterday. A couple of things came up, and it will be released on Saturday, tomorrow, but you will enjoy the video. Okay, so let's move on to today's topic. I was going through my Twitter feed, and and now I don't have that. Oh boy, here we go. Going through my Twitter feed the other day and found this from Matt Walsh, and this regards Katie Hill, the Congresswoman who won election in 2018 and then spent about 10 months in Congress before resigning due to basically a sex scandal. Katie Hill here says, "I can finally announce another exciting project. I'm so honored to be played by the iconic Elisabeth Moss." You know her from the Handmaid's Tale, and thrilled to work with this incredible team. Guess I'm about to add movie producer to my resume. And Walsh here writes, "She took advantage of her staff sexually and now gets a movie where she is portrayed as the hero." No chance this would be happening if she was a man. Just another example of female privilege. I want to talk a little bit about the morals or total lack thereof of Hollywood. Here is the article in Variety that former Congresswoman Katie Hill linked to. Let's read a little bit of this. "Elisabeth Moss has found her next role, and it's one which is sure to cause a stir. The Handmaid's Tale star is signed on to play former Congresswoman Katie Hill in a streaming film adaptation of her forthcoming book. She will rise, becoming a warrior in the battle for true equality." Oh boy. In the book, Hill recounts her experience as a young woman with no prior political experience, whose charm and common sense won over the people in her district and thrust her into the halls of power in Washington. While her brash confidence won her powerful allies and infuriated her enemies, frankly, I don't even think anyone knew who she was until the sex scandal. It was privately concealing a cycle of domestic abuse she was trapped in at home. Oh, well, she's the victim here, infamously culminating in the release of intimate photos and the revelation of her own admitted personal mistakes that would eventually result in her stunning fall from grace. Okay, she had a affair with a young 22-year-old staffer by the name of Morgan. I want to say it was Descharis, but I don't know if that's exactly right. Morgan Desjardins was the name. And now, granted, she's 22, so there's not any underage problem here, obviously, but it is against House ethics rules in the House of Representatives for members of Congress to have sexual relationships with her with their staff. And basically, this was a threesome between Katie Hill, Desjardins, and Katie Hill's husband, Kenny Helsep. We'll just go through some of the Daily Mail's highlights here. Katie Hill, 32, has been seen in a series of shocking photographs obtained exclusively by dailymail.com. Hill was pictured kissing and brushing her young female staffer's hair, who Daily Mail can identify as Morgan Desjardins from Santa Clarita, California. The then 22-year-old began a throuple relationship with Hill and her husband, Kenny Heslop. Sorry, I'm saying Helsep, it's Heslop. Shortly after she started working for Hill in 2017. Texts and photos between Hill, Heslop, and Desjardins reveal their throuple was steamy at first, but ended with Hill leaving them high and dry. The Congresswoman was also seen posing naked while smoking a bong on 9/11 in 2017. That's a good way to celebrate 9/11, right? As a tattoo of a Nazi-era Iron Cross on her bikini line is on full display. The tattoo could open the Congresswoman to accusations of hypocrisy after she criticized racist Facebook posts that included a similar-looking cross. Sources revealed Hill and Helsep also posted Hill's naked photos online in 2016 under a thread called "Would You F My Wife?" and "Wife Sharing." So we'll just take a quick gander. Here's the photo of the bong and the Iron Cross tattoo. A little odd, and there they are kissing, and here she is brushing her hair. Yeah, and I mean, she's really the victim here, isn't she? I mean, so this stuff was already posted online at some wife sharing site, and she's claiming that, you know, this stuff was released by her abusive husband. And one thing I've noticed here, and reading through all this stuff, is she doesn't really provide any information that her husband, I mean, any proof that her husband was abusive. I'm not saying he was, I'm not saying he wasn't, but if he was abusive, where were the phone calls? Where were where are the police reports, phone calls to the police reports? Yes, I understand relationships can be abusive, and none of that, you know, calls to the police never happened. But you should, if he was truly abusive, there should be some evidence somewhere, and so far I haven't seen any. But remember, you know, she is the victim here. She later threatened to, you know, basically called this revenge porn, and, you know, said she was going to fight for the victims of revenge porn. But if this was already shown online, and maybe shown online with her consent, I don't know, then it can't really be revenge porn. Daily Mail is simply taking something that was already out there on a publicly accessible, or at least presumably an accessible website. Maybe, I'm assuming you have to sign up for these websites, but nevertheless, it's pretty accessible by the public. So at any rate, she's of course getting a Hollywood movie made about her. You know, it's almost anticlimactic for this to come after Cuties. I mean, it's almost like you want to say, of course Hollywood's going to make a movie about this woman. You know, she is the victim here. You know, if she wants to have a threesome with her husband and a woman in her early 20s, you know, that should be celebrated. That should be a lifestyle choice. You know, that's not something that, you know, this little stuff about house ethics and all that stuff. You know, that's over here. Let's not pay any attention to it. Apparently, this is getting a little bit of pushback. Katie Hill's alleged former staffers call out film projects starring Elisabeth Moss. Alleged former staffers who claim to have worked for former California Congresswoman Katie Hill took over her inactive Twitter account last Tuesday to denounce plans to make a film about the workplace abuse scandal that led to Hill's resignation last year. Hill claims that her old account, which she hasn't used since she stepped down, was hacked. Identifying themselves as Katie's former staff, the anonymous commenters wrote a series of tweets explaining why they were disappointed in so many folks involved in the project. Good. Again, this could have been anyone hacking. This could have been anyone hacking her former Twitter account. I don't know, but it would seem that former staff would have access to that account. Because, you know, members of Congress don't always have time to be tweeting everything, and you give, you know, your staff access to those sorts of things to, when you're too busy to do it yourself, which is frequently. That includes the film project star Elisabeth Moss and screenwriter Michael Seitzman, who are co-producing with their respective production companies, and Blumhouse Television, an adaptation of Hill's memoir. She will rise, becoming a warrior in the battle for true equality. No, you're not a warrior in the battle for true equality. You're a skeezy little woman who took advantage of your situation. Uh, ugh, I just want to throw up when I see that title. I mean, the self-regard people who are attracted to power, the self-regard, the immense self-regard they have for themselves, just knows no bounds. If that self-regard was water, you could float the British Navy and the Spanish Armada. Quote, "This is an incredibly sensitive situation," the alleged staffers tweeted Tuesday. "We appreciate the instinct to defend our former boss, an LGBTQ plus woman who faced abuse from her husband. What happened to Katie Hill shouldn't happen to anyone, but this moment requires more nuance," is Katie Hill's story. "Our story is also one of workplace abuse and harassment." So what abuse and harassment? Was she sexually harassing her staff? Did she abuse them? Again, I'd like some evidence. I'd like some evidence, that her husband was abusive. I'd like some evidence that the staff was abused, other than, that she had this inappropriate relationship with a staffer. We do have evidence of that. Okay. However, the rising star of the Democratic Party officially resigned in early November 2019 after a right-wing blog accused her of having an improper sexual relationship with a male congressional staffer, a violation of health ethics rules, compounded by the publication of explicit photos of Hill with a female campaign staffer. Hill denied the affair with the male staffer, but later admitted to having an inappropriate relationship with the female campaign staffer. She also said the explicit photos had been weaponized by her husband and political operatives. Hill then wrote a map, flip, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's Hollywood, folks. What do you expect? Of course, they're going to try to turn this into turn her memoir into a story about the battle for equality. As far as I'm concerned, this woman is kind of scummy, but hey, she's cagey. She's opportunistic. She sees, an ability to turn her total, her total crash and burn and try to turn it around into something, noble. And Hollywood is the perfect place for her to go to achieve that. So, all righty. I think I'm pretty much done with this. Again, if you haven't signed up for Tilt 2, Superheroes Meet the Sopranos and the Sopranos Get Whacked, do so. A link to that is in the description below. There are also links to some of the articles, Katie Hill articles here, if you want to take a look at those. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much all for today. Thank you for stopping by, and we will be seeing you soon. Have a good weekend.